Good morning, good evening, good all the things. Hi, I am Catie Brannon, and this is Tea Time True Crime with Catie. Thank you so much for joining me today. Tonight's case is going to be a major trigger warning, and this is something out of like the Twilight Zone, a case of mistaken identity. And again, guys, trigger warning, I'm going to be using some not nice language, but this is the kind of case where I feel really, really awful for the person that this happened to. We do have a survivor, and I'll get into that. But what we don't hear about are the people or the person that is wrongfully accused and their story. So I have both stories if you guys want to just grab a snack, take deep breaths, and we're going to talk about the survivor, Kaye Robinson, and this insane case. Like, it just doesn't seem like it was real. It seems like it was from straight out of a nightmare. Back to the way we never were. Before we get into the story, guys, I just want to say hello. Welcome, True Crime Kitty Cats. I really, really appreciate you being here. And subscribers, I see you and I adore you. Thank you so much for following my channel. And usually I talk about a product or service that I usually use and that I love. I'm just going to talk quickly about adopt, don't shop with pets. Now, I know in my title page, you see my 3 cats, Max, Tux, and Bowie. Now, Max and Tux are a little bit older. They're 8 years old, and Bowie maybe is allowed 2, so he's younger. He's like a baby. So I adopted Max and Tux at the same time. I went into, I believe it was Petco, PetSmart. They had the Humane Society there in the shop, and I remember seeing a box with holes in it, and I put my finger through it, and I'm like, oh, this thing is gonna bite me. And no, that was not the case. Tux, the black and white tuxedo one, he immediately just petted, like, my finger went like, and I was like, oh my gosh, can we keep him? And when I was about to purchase and take him home, because he was a 3-year-old cat, they were like, well, he's bonded to another cat. So I went to pet store to get fish, and I ended up with 2 cats. So I totally recommend it, guys. Please adopt, don't shop. And if you don't know where any of those places are, there are Facebook, and you can also ask people around your area, and please make sure they have very good reputations for treating the animals correctly. And also, if they don't, then save the animals, please. Remember, adopt, don't shop, and I'll be like Bob Barker from The Price is Right, which is always neuter your pets. Thank you, guys. All right, you guys, I'm going to take you to the beginning of this horrific crime. I'm going to take you back to September 1995. There is a single mother. Her name is Kaye Robinson. Full name, Brenda Kaye Robinson. I'm not sure if she's married. I also saw that her name is Kaye Jones. But back in 1995, she was 30 years old, and she had a son who was 11-year-old Nick. But then in a book she wrote, she named him Nathan. So kind of close names. So you have a single mother and a son, and they're very, very close. She would do absolutely anything for her son. Around this time, though, she wasn't really single. She just, started a really nice relationship, I believe, with this guy named Mr. Simmons. Let's just call him that. And she said they were soulmates. She was absolutely in love with him. But he had a tendency to go hunting. He went down to Virginia and hunted elk, moose, stuff that hunting do. So, do I agree? No, but that's a whole different story. But that's what he did, okay? So he's hunting, and he gets home sometimes at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. And they live in like a modest home. I believe it is a mobile home. So Kaye is kind of getting used to him coming in around like 2, 3 a.m. Okay. So one night, her son actually says, Nick, we'll just say Nick. Nick actually says that, there's a man outside my window. Well, Kaye looks around like any mother would, and she's like, no, honey, there's not. Would you like to sleep with me? And he's like, yes, please. So, they're sleeping together, just having a good old time, like sleeping very soundly. Then all of a sudden, there is a horrible knock at the door. I'm talking about slam knocking, like I feel like louder than The Strangers from 2008. Yeah, apparently the new one. Don't waste your money, apparently. I know, I hate to say that. But the one from 2008 really scared me back then. So it was just knocking and knocking and knocking and knocking. Now, Kaye is thinking, okay, what is going on here? It cannot be, the Simmons guy, because he has keys. So why would he just keep knocking? So she gets up out of bed and she realizes it is a man at her door. And she does not open the door. She's pretty rad, you guys. She literally does not open the door. And she goes, can I help you? And he goes, yes, hi. Can I use your phone? My car broke down. And she's like, oh, I can, I'm not going to let you inside, but I can call here. Like, tell me the number and I'll call the number for you. And what is your name? And he was saying, my name is Jack Wilson. So he gives her a number. She writes it down and says, I want to talk. The guy's name is Ben. I want to talk to Ben. And she goes, okay, I'll call and I'll tell him that you have car trouble and that he'll help you. Well, she dials the number, you guys, and realizes that there was no Ben. And the person on the other line had no idea who Jack Wilson was. So she realized that this guy, something's very off about this guy. So she tells the guy, I'm sorry, but there's been a wrong number. I'm going to have to ask you to leave before I call the police. And he gets mad, says some, swear words. And apparently, I guess stomps the ground and it's like, thanks for nothing. And he leaves. But 90 minutes later, you guys, Kaye wakes up to the absolute shock of her life. If you want to see more information about this case, Kaye Robinson did do some TV spots, and there were a couple reenactment shows like on Investigation Discovery about her. Your Worst Nightmare, the episode Play Dead, and the Forensic Files episode Smiley Face. These TV programs are where the case was featured on. The case. Wow. Yeah, already getting nervous here, guys. It's about to get really real. This is seriously like a horror movie. Okay? Hope you're ready. So she all of a sudden hears her front door slam. This is 90 minutes later, okay? From like when the guy was banging on the door. So 90 minutes later, she hears the door slam. And she's thinking, why did, the Simmons guy, I don't know if his name was Andrew or I don't know. People said he was different names, I guess to hide identities. So she was thinking, why is, her fiance, slamming the door? So she goes out to check what's going on. Her son is still sleeping in the bed. She goes out and checks, and there is a big mirror, like between, I guess, the hallway and the kitchen that's close to the door, the front door. Excuse me. And what she does is she slowly goes in the kitchen and she sees a man crouching down, okay? And she is just like shocked because not only he is crouching down, she sees him in the reflection of the mirror and also him holding a butcher's knife. Yeah, she is frozen in fear for a second because she's trying to realize what the heck is happening right in front of her. So he starts actually running towards her, okay? And he grabs her and she is like fighting back, and he's like stabs her a little bit, and she is just trying to grab the actual knife, and she did. She grabbed the knife, and she claimed she was very naive. She was 30 years old. So when she grabbed the knife, she broke the top of the knife. Now, instead of holding the knife's blade, she threw it. And when she threw it, she went towards the phone. Yeah. When she went towards the phone, though, by the time she was dialing 911, he was right up on her, and he grabbed her. And he was not saying very nice things to her. I did not read the book. It's called Death Comes A-Knocking. And it goes really more in detail. So what I'm going to say is that, I wasn't there, but the guy is a monster. He's absolutely horrible. So she is trying to survive, and she's saying, he's asking, is there anyone else in the house? And she's like, just her son. And she is doing everything she can to like, please don't hurt me. My son is in the next room. And while this is going on, her 11-year-old son, she thinks he's asleep, you guys, but he's not. He actually hears the struggle between this guy that broke into the home and his mother. Now, in the beginning, he claims he thought it was some kind of prank, but then as time went on and he hears his mother struggling, he knew it definitely was not a prank. Not at all. Today's tea, guys, is a very calming, beautiful, sweet tea. It is honey, chamomile, vanilla. I absolutely love it. Oh, yes. Usually when I have some tea, it's about to get rough in the story. I hope you guys realize that. Just trying to calm down because no one likes to talk about horrific things happening to people, especially when it involves sexual assault. Yeah, I know, the bastard. So while the son is like pretending to be asleep, he is realizing, oh my gosh, I have to get help. But yet he overhears how, he hears the threatening and the mom is scared. So the boy is paralyzed in his bed. He doesn't know what to do. He thinks, do I go out the window? Do I run for help? But he figured if he did any of those things, his mom would be as good as dead. So sadly, he had to listen to the noises and the awful things that are being done to his mother. As they're fighting in the kitchen, and he wants to be in a room. He wants to be alone with her. She claims that she knew at that moment that this was not a robbery, nothing like that, that he was going to rape her. He definitely wanted, there was definitely a sexual motive. So she did everything she could and tried to I just can't imagine, you guys. I cannot imagine. Not only a man breaks into your house, but your son is in the next room and you love him more than anything. And you don't want to traumatize him by him hearing the abuse that is being done to you. Isn't that awful? So I wasn't sure about the timeline because articles say different, but she claims in the Forensic Files episode that the brutal attack lasted 3 hours. Yes. Not only he took her back there and made her, he bound her with cord. We're not really sure what the cord was. I'm guessing it was some kind of telephone cord. I'm not sure, but he did bind her with some kind of rope. It did not say. Now, it portrayed her that she was bound behind her back, and it was so tight that she could not move her hands at all. So he did a sexual assault, and then he got the knife, and he just started stabbing her. He stabbed her almost 30 times, and he kept, So she claims that not only he abused her from the back, but the way the TV spots portray it, he also abused her missionary as well, which she thinks was very weird because why would a man abuse you and you stare at him the whole time while he's having a knife. And then finally, when he was done, and he was talking to her and taunting her the whole time. So that is like nightmare fuel. Like, it's bad enough that he wants to get his rocks off, right? But then to talk to her for hours and like psychologically, like just, I don't know. It was just really, really sad and messed up. So when he was done, he ended with her being behind. And like I said, he stabbed her about 30 times. And then the last thing he did, because she's like, oh my gosh, he's not going to stop and I need to survive. So Kaye is talking about how she needs to survive. Like, she literally is thinking in her head, my son is in, like the next room. Not the next room, but like a bedroom down the hallway. She's like, I need to survive. So she literally holds her breath, you guys, and plays dead. And he's still stabbing. And then finally, he grabs her by the head, arches her all the way up until, like, I guess she said, like, her head felt like it was going to get ripped off. And he just started cutting her neck. He cut her neck like 4 ways. Ear to ear, she thought he was cutting her ear off. It was like he was trying to decapitate her. But yet, you guys, she did not move. Yeah, I know. It's like an insane. So she continued playing dead. And then finally, when, blood is everywhere. Oh my God, this scene is so bloody and sad. It's nuts. Finally, he says to her, are you alive, bitch? Just more profanities, just not really nice. And again, she didn't move, you guys. She continued playing dead. Not sure when the timing happened, but during that time, either afterwards or before the vicious attack, not really sure, but the attacker actually went into her son's bedroom to make sure that he was asleep, because she's like, listen, my son is asleep. Don't bother him, please. And he didn't want anything to do with the son. He actually went in the bedroom, and this son was explaining this, and this felt like a horror movie. So the son realizes there's these footsteps coming to the door, and the door slowly opens, and the kid's heart just is so, he said he was so scared, but he really pretended he was asleep. He controlled his breathing, and he pretended he was asleep. The guy even went as far as to touch him, like his shoulder, to make sure he was asleep. And again, her son pretended to be asleep. The guy was satisfied that the son was asleep, so he left the bedroom and just left this scene. After he left, the little boy, 11 or 12 years old, went out to look for his mom. Now, he could not believe how he saw his mom. She is so, first of all, she did not want her son to see her neck. She thought that was the worst part. So she was hiding her neck and she's saying, get help, get help. But the kid is just frozen there. He literally, he honestly thought it was a robbery. He didn't know that man was trying to kill his mother. So he's standing there and she goes, get help. Now, even though she's covering up these horrible scars on her neck for what the monster did to her, she had no idea that her back looked worse. I know. Oh, yeah. Yep. Before he finally went and got help, he was staring at his mother's back. Because remember, she was trying to hide her neck, so her back turned. So all the stab wounds were showing. And he explained every breath that she took, there was blood spurting out of the stab wounds. And the kid was just shocked. And horrifyingly, on her back, in the middle of this horrible bloodbath on her back, there was a smiley face that was drawn on her back in blood. Yeah, that is so sick. That is like, what? And like the kid said, it was something out of a horror movie. But he went and left to the nearest neighbor and he begged for them to call 911, and they called 911 and they got her out of there, got her help, and the police thought Kaye would not survive. She had crazy injuries. Like they said, her living is like slim to none. You got to think about it. Being stabbed almost 30 times, brutally assaulted, and then almost decapitated. I was thinking, how the heck did she have all that blood in her body? Because I don't recommend it, but there are crime scene photos online where you actually see the bed is just soaked with blood. It doesn't even look real. I don't even know that was in our body. You know what I'm saying? It's very, very haunting. Surprisingly though, Kaye, she remembered everything about her attacker. Usually, the detective that was on the scene, his name was Doug. Okay? Now, usually, I don't like to say victims, but when someone has been through a horrific attack and they're traumatized, they're usually very, very scared to get their perpetrator. She was the opposite. She wanted to get him bad. She remembered even the length of his fingernails. She remembered his face. She remembered the smell. She remembered his voice. So they, at that time, got a composite sketch out right away. Even though Kaye Robertson, she survived her attack, you guys, her life did not go back to normal. Her son's life did not go back to normal. In fact, Mr. Simmons, Andrew, or the guy she was with, the hunter guy, they did not last. She claims that, as time went on, she should have moved on already. Which I'm thinking, are you out of your mind, dude? Like, what she went through is something that is so horrific. I don't even want to imagine. I don't want to imagine to happen to anybody, male, female, doesn't matter. It's horrific, okay? So sadly, they break up, and Kaye tries to move on with her life. Kind of. But they're really still trying to get this guy. 2 weeks later, okay? This guy named Doug, same as the detective's name, but not the detective. Don't get it wrong. It's just like a weird coincidence. Doug DeSilva. Doug DeSilva was like an auto mechanic. Now, I was trying to figure out why he put himself in the investigation, because you guys, he did. I don't know if he was just very naive and didn't understand how law enforcement worked, but man, he put himself right in the middle of the investigation. So rewind to 2 weeks later after the attack. A neighbor called on this guy because he was in the neighborhood, or like right in front of Kaye's home. Kaye wasn't there anymore. So she was out or something, but he held a candle because he felt really, really bad about what happened to Kaye and that they haven't caught the monster yet. So the police were asking, what are you doing here? So Doug, just plainly brings out the composite sketch and is just saying, I'm trying to look for this guy. He's trying to be some sort of vigilante and help Kaye, because even though I think it was like 100 miles away in Maryland, Doug DeSilva lived in Maryland, but his daughter and wife at the time, I don't know if they were together or not, but the daughter and the mom, okay, they lived in that trailer park area. And that mobile home area. I don't want to offend anybody, but they did. So I'm guessing when the daughter was very upset about what happened and they were scared, she must have told her dad in Maryland. Well, her dad drove down and felt awful and wanted to do everything to help Kaye. Here's the kicker though, guys. Here is the kicker. As you look at the composite sketch, and the police did too that were on the scene that night, they noticed that Doug DeSilva looked a lot like the composite sketch. Yep, it is weird how much they looked alike. So police were very weird about it. They were like, okay, this is weird. So they bring him in, and Doug seemed like a kooky la-di-da kind of guy. He did. He didn't realize what he really got himself into. He put himself right in the investigation, even though I feel like he thought he was caring and he wanted to get this monster off the streets, perhaps not to mess with his family. It's plausible, right? So Doug is talking to the police officer, the detective Doug that was on the scene with Kaye. And Doug realized, oh, your name is Doug too? That's my name. Oh, cool, So of course he has some kind of, I feel like he was naive, And then he also claimed that he wants to be a state trooper. So he wanted to file an application, fill an application. And the police are like, is this guy taunting us? Is this the guy? So what they do is put him in a lineup, and they bring Kaye. And what seals his fate, and I don't know why he did what he did, but on the application of the state trooper, he was writing stars and doodling. And yes, you guys, you've guessed it. One of the doodles was a smiley face. I know. Not looking good, Doug. Not looking good. I know. Kaye and her son are brought to the police department, and they're brought to see a lineup, and she immediately picks out Doug DeSilva. She even hears his voice, and she's like, oh my gosh, that is him. That is him. That's the man who attacked me. And even her son picked him out in the lineup. I know. Like, I'm guessing when the guy was talking, the son could hear the voice. Who knows? But Kaye, 100% was like, that is the man. That is the man who attacked me. Now, Doug, they took him to jail. 15 months later, when the DNA came out during that time, the DNA was not a match. According to forensic files, when the attacker was like basically making himself at home in horrible ways in Kaye's home, okay? He drank a glass of water. Now, as he was drinking the glass of water, he took a sip, and then he got his flannel shirt and rubbed the glass, I guess, to get rid of fingerprints. But what he did not do afterwards, he picked it up again and didn't rub it. So they had the fingerprints, and also from the rape kit, the DNA. So the police were absolutely dumbfounded because they believed that was the guy as well. They really believed Kaye, and he looked exactly like the composite sketch. But the DNA was not a match. Let me tell you what kind of person Kaye is. So Kaye was absolutely, she couldn't believe it. She thought she was going to have peace. She thought she was going to live some kind of normal life. But then she realized, okay, is the DNA analysis messed up? Did they collect it wrong? It's literally him. And she really thought it was him, you guys, that she actually went out and bought a gun. Yeah. She actually explains it in one of the TV spots where she literally thought that if I kill him, this nightmare will end. And I don't care if I go to prison for the rest of my life. She was willing to do that. Yeah. I mean, that's rough. It's a horrible ordeal, you guys. Like, to even go through that and then survive it and then never sleep at night anymore and just be absolutely paranoid, and it just affects everything. Relationships, it's awful. But she did not kill Doug DeSilva. She wanted to. She did. She actually found out where he lived and was going to shoot him. But she realized that, wait a minute, if I do this, I will never see my son again. And I don't know why that finally dawned on her, but it did, and she didn't. She left. She left, and she put the police, she put the investigation in the police hands, and they did what they could. But I believe Some articles said, you guys, 7 to 10 years later, they finally got their man. So I'm guessing about a decade later. Let's just say that. It's years, okay? So Kaye gets the phone call that changes her life. The police actually find out that a single mother was attacked again in a mobile home. She had a son. So it's kind of like the same MO. She was found bound and she was found assaulted, but nowhere near as abused as poor Kaye was. Now, she claimed that a guy broke into her house, sexually assaulted her, had a rolling pin in one hand and a knife in the other, and assaulted her. And he said, I won't hurt you unless you do everything I say. And this woman did everything she said. And then she claimed, please, I have a son, please. And apparently that wording of her having a son spooked this guy, okay? So it spooked him so much that he stopped the attack, or he stopped early and left. But guess what? When he left his fingerprints, you guys, on the doorknob. And they were the fingerprints that matched the attackers that attacked Kaye Robinson in 1995. Yes, and this guy, wow, you guys, I can't even. Okay. So when the police told Kaye Robinson and she brought him to the lineup and showed pictures, she's like, that's not the guy. And they're like, but it's his DNA. This is the guy. She's like, but it's not. And she's arguing with them. And they're like, listen, Kaye, that's him now. But you want to see what he looked like in 1995? And they found a picture of him in 1995, and it looked just like the composite. And she knew. She was like, oh my God, that's him. And his name was Mark Eskridge. Mark Eskridge. With the DNA and the forensics against him, he admitted, and he is now in jail for the rest of his life without the possibility of parole. Now, this kind of is a happy ending, but I'm making this podcast for Doug DeSilva's daughter. I know. You would think I would make it for Kaye, which, Kaye, you are a badass queen, okay? I can't imagine what you've been through. I can't. I really can't. And I mean no disrespect to any of the loved ones involved in this case. But I have to say, remember the daughter that I talked about in the beginning of Doug DeSilva's. So as I was researching this case, you guys, I go on Reddit, and I know Reddit is not a really credible source. I get that, but I always have an open mind. I came across an article from 6 years ago claiming to be DeSilva's daughter and saying how much this case and how her dad was wrongfully accused. He was in, I believe, jail for like 15 months, and he had to use a family member's money. But a lot of people still thought, he did it because he was accused, the main suspect and all that. So he literally, it was just awful. So the daughter, she didn't say her name, but I read it, and she was explaining how, she reached some kind of accolade, I believe, in high school. Not a valedictorian, but something impressive like that, I assume, because she said her father was not there when she did her speech. And I don't know why, guys, but that melted my heart. That really hurt me. I'm sure melted means very different to some people, but it's hard to explain. When I read this could be someone faking to be DeSilva's daughter. We have to think that way. I get that. But when you read it, I could definitely feel the anger that she felt towards Kaye. Because get this, Kaye did survive, yes. Kaye was on TV spots. Perhaps, I don't know if they did any movies about her yet, but she did TV spots, and she was on the news and had media press. Now, according to this post, Kaye never apologized to Doug DeSilva's family. never apologized. Nothing. In fact, Kaye's family actually blamed Doug for the longest time. I mean, I guess rightfully so. If Kaye was gung-ho about this Doug DeSilva did the attack, then yes, her family would be devastated and they would believe her. But as I say all the time, guys, DNA does not lie. Doug DeSilva, he has not been heard from, you guys, in a very long time. That Reddit post was from 6 years ago. It is 2024 as I'm doing this podcast, and the Reddit post says 6 years ago. And in the Reddit post, she said she hasn't heard from her dad, Doug DeSilva, in 10 years. Something tells me that he is not with us today. Or he is really laying low, and maybe the family is lying. Maybe. We don't know. But also people think that he is not longer, on this earth anymore, because why would he miss something very, very important from his daughter? And by the research that I have found, that he absolutely loved his daughter. He wasn't a bad dad. He seemed like a kooky, funny guy. And I don't know why he put himself in the middle of the investigation. It is very odd. I'm thinking, did you look at the composite sketch, bro? Because you look like him. But I think he was really focusing on his family and really wanted to catch the attacker because maybe he doesn't want the attacker to attack his family. What do you guys think? I want to know what you guys think about this story. It is very rough. And again, no disrespect to the loved ones involved. But Doug DeSilva's name needs to be cleared. Because not only he was accused of that, he was also accused of a Julie Ferguson, I believe her name was, a teenage girl. She was, I believe, raped. And I don't know, one article said she was raped. Another article said she was murdered. I'm not sure, which is really sad. I wish we could get the correct information. But Doug DeSilva, he was one of the accused. They say because he was accused of Kaye's, so if you're accused of something like that, you could easily do something, another crime like that as well. But I know in my heart that Doug DeSilva did not do any of those things. Now, if I'm wrong and he is this drug-addicted crackhead daddy, please let me know in the comments. But when I look at him, I don't see that at all. I see him as a loving person, and I don't know what happened in his personal life, but I feel like he really did love his daughter. And what do you guys think? Do you think he's still alive? Because I can't find him. Unless he's really doing the down low, guys, and changed his name and had a whole life. I mean, I hope so. I really hope that's the case. But I'm doing this mainly because it is awful what happened to Kaye, but also for the accused as well, who had nothing to do with this crime, who simply just wanted to help solve it. His life was destroyed. And in the book, Death Comes Knockin', his daughter explains, I have not read it, you guys, you can buy it on Amazon or rent it on Kindle, but apparently she says throughout the whole book, her dad's name is just slandered, okay? And toward the end, I think she said page 124 out of 135, she finally explains the mistaken identity towards Doug DeSilva and Mark Eskridge. So I think personally, I feel like Kaye should apologize to the family. I mean, I would be absolutely mortified if I really thought this person did what he did and he didn't because of DNA. But yeah, that is the horrible story about the mistaken identity of this horrific crime. So again, guys, yeah, you guys let me know, because I cannot wrap my head around quite a few of this. I don't know, but thumbs up to Kaye, man, and her strength. That is unbelievable that she survived. And you can look up Forensic Files. I believe that's on Peacock. They definitely show more of the photos, the crime scene photos, and they are pretty horrific. Yeah. And the family has, they've tried to go on, Kaye's family. The son went on. He's a father himself. But again, when I look at his face, when he interviews about, his mother's attack, holy mess. There's just so much sadness in his face. So much, you guys. That, yes, he moved on, but, I mean, it's still hidden. Like, that's something that would scar you for life, I feel, when you see your mother and you hear the attack. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching or listening. I really appreciate you. Please know that you are loved and you are cherished. And if this is your kind of podcast, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, comment. I send you all the good vibes and energy, and I will see you in my next video. Remember, you are doing better than you think. Bye.